welcome. Today, we're going to talk about something important in programming. It's called conditional statements. So, what are conditional statements? Well, when we write code, sometimes we don't want it to just run in a straight line from top to bottom. Instead, we want our program to make decisions based on certain conditions. So, just like in real life, if it's raining, you bring an umbrella. If it's sunny, you wear sunglasses. So, by the end of this video, you'll understand how programmers control the flow of program, and you'll be able to read and write your own decision-making code. So, let's get started. So, here are our learning objectives for today. Number 1, discuss the program logic formulation. Number 2, explain an appropriate program solution using different condition statements. Number 3, discuss the Java selection condition structure. And lastly, create an appropriate program solution using different condition statements. So, let's start. Introduction to control structures. Control structures. It allows us to change the order of statements, execution in programs. Types of control structures. Number 1, decision control structures. Select specific sections of code to be executed. Number 2, repetition control structures. Execute specific section of code multiple times. So, what do we mean by control structure? Well, programs usually run step by step, but sometimes we need to change the order of execution. That's where control structures come in. Control structures let us decide whether to stop a line, run it, or repeat it. Without them, code would just run straight through without any intelligence. With them, our code can act differently depending on situation. Next is decision control structures. Decision control structures in Java. Java statements allows us to select and execute specific blocks of code while skipping others. The types of these are: number 1, if statement, 2, if-else statement, and lastly, if-else-if statement. So, what do this mean? Decision control structures, it allows the program to choose between different paths. For example, deciding what to do if a user is logged in versus not logged in. Repetition control structures, on the other hand, allows us to repeat actions until a condition is met, like looping through numbers or repeating a task until the user quits. If statement. Execute a statement or block of code if and only if a certain Boolean expression is true. So, let's make an example. Statement coding guidelines. Coding guidelines. The Boolean expression must evaluate to a Boolean value, true or false. Indent the statements inside the if block for readability. Couple of important rules. The condition inside an if must result in a true or false value. You can't just put random numbers in there. And for readability, always indent the code inside your if block. This makes it clear whether it belongs to the condition and what doesn't. Next is if-else statement. It is used to execute one statement if a condition is true and a different statement if the condition is false. Let's look at the example. Alright, so basically, an if-else statement gives you two possible paths. If the condition is true, one block of code runs. If it's false, another block runs instead. This way, the program always does something no matter what the condition is. If-else coding guidelines. Always place statements of an if or if-else block inside brackets to avoid confusion. Nested if-else blocks are allowed. An if-else block inside another if-else block. So what this means is that always use curly brackets even if you only have one line of code. This avoids confusion later. You can nest if-else statements, meaning put one inside another, but keep it clean. Too much nesting can make your code messy and hard to follow. Next is nested if statement. An if statement that is the target of another if or else allows an if statement to be placed inside another if statement. So, a nested if statement is simply one if inside another. It's useful when you need to check another condition only if the first one is true. For example, if-else-if statement. It allows for more complex selections by cascading if-else structures within the else clause. The if-else-if structure is great for handling multiple possible choices. For example, and here are some common mistakes to avoid. You could and here are some common mistakes to avoid. Your condition must always evaluate to true or false. Don't type else if as one word in Java. It's else if with a space. And be careful with equal signs. A single equal signs assigns a value. Two equal signs compare values. This is one of the most common beginner mistakes. And next is switch statement. Java evaluates the switch expressions and jumps to the case whose selector matches the value. Execute statements until a break is countered. If no cases match, the optimal default block is executed. Sometimes, if-else-if can get too messy when there are too many options. That's where the switch statement comes in. A switch statement looks at one value and then jumps directly to the matching case. It's much cleaner and easier to understand when you're just comparing one thing to several possible outcomes. Switch statement coding guidelines. Deciding between if and switch statements is a judgment call based on readability and other factors. An if statement can handle ranges of values or conditions. A switch statement makes decisions based only on a single integer or character value. In each case, value must be unique. So, how do we know whether to use if or switch? Use if when you're checking ranges or conditions that aren't exact. On the other hand, use switch when you're checking one exact value, like a number, a grade, or a single character. Basically, if is more flexible, while switch is more organized for simple value checks. And that's the end of our lesson on conditional statements. Today, we went over different types like if else if, nested if, and switch. We also look at some common mistake beginners usually make, so you'll know what to avoid when you start coding on your own. The most important thing to remember is that conditional statements let you program make decisions, just like how we choose what to do depending on the situation. Programs also need a way to pick the right action. Without this, your code will just run in straight line and never react to changes. So, as you practice, try simple examples like checking if someone passed or failed the test, or choosing what to do based on the weather. And that's all for this video. I hope you learned something, and thank you for watching.